My connection with the Royal Court started in the 80s when Max Stafford Clark was running the building, and you had people like Simon Curtis and Lindsay Posner, and I used to live in Battersea, so the Royal Court was the closest theatre to me, so I used to come here a lot. And also the theatre upstairs, I was a bit enthralled about, because it's where they put on the really experimental stuff, and the space changed constantly. It sort of changed my view of what a theatre is and does and what it is to the community. Instead of being your traditional, you have this punky sort of like renegade, try anything works, performance, writing, directing, acting, and that's how I sort of came into it, actually. There was a generation of actors who I used to come and see. You had Leslie Manville, you had Adie Dunbar, you had Gary Oldman, and they were sort of like the actors that you wanted to be, you wanted to get the work that they were getting, because it was so experimental, it was so on the edge, and they were really using all their talents. And it was almost like he had a company and they were intercast. Jerry Horn was another one. And you used to sort of come and watch these incredible free people on stage, and it was raw and it represented society and what was happening at the time. Serious Money was another play that sort of changed my opinions. Also Whistle in the Dark I saw, which was incredible, and that was brought over from Druid. I also saw a Frank McGuinness adaptation of The Three Sisters, and that's another thing that Royal Court does. It doesn't just do new writing, it does new translations and, interpretations as well. And God, then Conor McPherson's played, Jez Butterworth. I mean, you could, Martin Crimp. There's just so many. And it's interesting to see it change over the decades and the tenures of the artistic directors as well. And then when Stephen took it over, you had the first one was The Change of the Theatre, when it was Kitchen, and that was amazing as well. And you also had like plays like Whistle in the Dark, and which are so gritty and raw and political, and about the country that I grew up in Ireland, and in the north, and the political situation, and giving voices to writers who were finding their voices at the time, as well as amazing directors like Peter Gill, who I later worked with. And then you realise that, he's comes through here as well. It's just like this amazing sort of like, how would you say it? Walking, moving pavement, and people get on it and they get off it, and then they come back onto it again. It's like at an airport, you have a little bit, moving walkways, and then you're on it for a bit, and then you get off, and then you're back on it again. So coming back through the different artistic directors' times in the building, and of course seeing the building change as well, is incredibly exciting. You also had The Normal Heart here as well, which I saw in this theatre, which was, that would have been early 90s, was it? Yeah. And that was, about the first ever play about AIDS that I'd ever seen. And it also had Martin Sheen in it. And you couldn't get a ticket for love nor money. And it was incredible. It was an event. If you got a ticket to one of the really successful plays, you were like excited. You had like electricity going through your body, And what I always love is the discrepancy between the beauty of the original theatre, the main house, which is almost like an old music hall theatre, and some of the plays that are on there, which are modern and edgy and fuck and cunt and, things like that. Language like that is coming out instead of Shakespeare, or any other classic. So it's the dichotomy, and it's the braveness to push those boundaries as well. It's always taking risks. I always think if you're talking about music, I think Royal Court is punk, and that's what it represents to me. It's the one that's out there. It's representing society. It's listening to what's going on. It's playwrights are giving plays that are a product of the environment, of the economic situation, of the political situation, of of what's happening at that time in the world, and it's questioning, like Sarah Kane stuff as well. It's questioning it. They're not comfortable plays, a lot of them as well. That's what's so challenging. And they challenge you as an audience member as well as an actor, a performer, a director. It's the kaleidoscope of colour, of play, of writing that the Royal Court delivers time on, time again, time and again, time and again. And it's just like this incredible ease. I mean, Conor McPherson, Martin McDonagh, Brian Friel, Gary Mitchell, it keeps going. But they're all of a similar type, but they're picking different strands of life and what's going on at the time. And it's the Royal Court's ear to the street of what's happening and the change, and helping push that change forward as well. No matter where you are, it's always about the writing. No matter if you went to whatever artistic director, this is a new writing theatre. Your job as an actor is to interpret and serve the new writing. Yeah, but it was amazing because when you'd come to work here, you would have the writer. And it's not always that you have a writer in the room with you. And that can be a brilliant experience or it can be a terrifying experience. And it totally depends on what sort of a play you're doing and what sort of how's it going. And they've been good and they've been bad. And also, do they speak the same language? Because I've also done international plays here as well with the writer, and it's been a translation. So you've got to take that on board then. Are you sure this is what you mean when this is, this translation? Is that what that means, literally? Or, what is the motion that you want to put over here? So it's fascinating work and it's brilliant, but it all centres around the text. If the Royal Court didn't exist, I wouldn't have worked with some of the most incredible people that I've been fortunate enough to work with, like Peter Gill, Harold Pinter, David Mamet, Conor McPherson. The list goes on. And I'm not name dropping. It's one of those places. It gives you access. Somebody like me, who has no background in theatre in Ireland. Nobody in my family is in it. So to come to get that opportunity, it's extraordinary. And everybody's equal. If you come into this building to rehearse a play and you have actors, writers, directors, and if it's Max, you'll do the actioning. If it was Ian, it's the emotion of getting you in there. And Peter Gill, it's, Liz, what did you say? What did you say? Terrifying you, but wonderful, because if you get taught by Peter on how to approach a text, you'll never forget it. And so the opportunities it has given, if I hadn't worked at the Royal Court, if I hadn't had the opportunities at the Royal Court, I wouldn't have learned what I've learned. I wouldn't keep learning, and I wouldn't have my understanding of writing as well.